San Francisco-based filmmaker Mark Decena travels the world, telling stories about people making change and standing up to powerful interests.
I don't think any change happens if it doesn't happen from the ground up. Politicians or people in power are not going to do anything unless the people ask them to do it. Change doesn't start unless people get together and demand it.
In his documentary Not Without Us, Mark followed climate activists during the lead-up to the Paris Climate Agreement.
There was talk that the Paris agreements were going to be something that was finally on the global stage. We're going to make some concrete proclamations. And the climate justice movements were getting word of what those commitments were going to be, and they knew that they were so far off of what we needed to do. That was the impetus for the film, knowing that the movements were going to converge on Paris and try to sway the negotiators to really step up, to not make just promises and empty commitments.
The agreement fell well short of the activists' hopes.
The final agreement signed had no mention of fossil fuels. That was the thing that blew me away. So how could you have a climate agreement without mentioning fossil fuels?
Former Bolivian ambassador to the UN, Pablo Solon, was one of the activists featured in Not Without Us.
You can see that now people know that the agreement is bad, but they are not frustrated. They are not demoralized. People have learned the lesson. We don't have to expect nothing from governments and from the UN system. We have to do it ourselves.
Mark believes artists, poets, and filmmakers can inspire change.
I like to think that my films can act like an organizer. If it changes one person's mind, who then maybe changes someone else's mind, that is in itself a form of organizing.
Mark's films have screened to audiences around the world at film festivals, on television, and online. His first feature narrative, Dopamine, premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in 2003. Since then, Mark has written and directed numerous documentaries and worked with a variety of organizations, including the Redford Center. Robert Redford was executive producer and narrator, and James Redford was producer of his film about the Colorado River, Watershed.
All of my films are really love stories. Any film, you have to, at first, fall in love with the characters. You have to relate to the characters and see that they're human. Beauty and good cinematography and great music are Trojan horses for getting messages across.
What do you see as the connection between environmental issues and social justice issues and social issues?
The thing I realized about environmental issues and social justice issues is that they're all interconnected. You're not going to stop climate change unless you really look at the systemic issues. It's not just solving things for the environment. Of course, we need to save the planet, but there are people that are going to suffer much, much more and more acutely, and who have had the least amount to do with pollution or the carbon emissions. It's changing our worldview. Yes, companies need to make profit, but they also need to take into account people, labor, how their people are treated, and resources. Are we just extracting everything and leaving nothing, or are we regenerating?
Mark is working on a new film, The Returning, that explores climate and social justice issues through the lens of farming.
Black farmers used to own 14% of the farms in the US, and today that number is down to 2%. That 14% of farmers, a lot of their land they were either forced off the land or were stolen, or they couldn't get loans from the USDA. There was so much structural racism built into the agricultural system that they didn't have a chance. So the Justice for Black Farmers Act is trying to make land available, make funds available for black farmers.
Changing our relationship with the land could yield great benefits for the planet.
It is an astounding fact that most of the world's food, 70% of the world's food, is grown by small farmers. Industrial agriculture, despite all the promises, only provides 30% of the world's food, but uses 70% of resources, energy and water, and also uses fertilizers and pesticides. If we could solve the food system, solve the land use, solve the industrial ag's impact on the world, then we might be able to solve the climate crisis.